Our next speaker is Ed. He's one of those who does not have a last name. He's with 100-fold, and he's going to be, well, he is one of the world's leading experts in the realm of mobile technology and applications. He's done a lot of research, and he's going to be speaking to us today about the illusion of mobile security. I understand he's broadcasting from an undisclosed location, maybe Sealand, if you're familiar with what that is. And as soon as we have him online, he can take it away.
Okay.
Thanks,
Tim. First of all, explain.
Muted.
The slide is messed up. We have a few little snafus here. What this slide is supposed to say is the illusion of mobile security, not of mobile security on mobile. You'll notice the little zip tie that's holding those two chains together. And that's pretty much the state of mobile security today. It looks pretty impressive, but it's pretty much held together with a zip tie. I'm going to go over some of the reasons that we have a problem with mobile security, and then I'll try to give a couple of ideas of how some things you might do. I'm predicating this on the idea that you're talking about a secure context. You're talking about the average user on a daily basis. There's a few things you can do, but we're pretty much all in the same boat. It's not a very secure way of dealing with life. Okay, you may have heard of Carrier IQ. This is a company that, go ahead and you can turn the video off, and that way I'll be distracted with my face. One of the things that Carrier IQ was designed to do was help manufacturers understand how their devices are being used and the problems that people are having with them. Often you would have people say, oh, I have dropped calls and my phone's not working. They would come back and want to turn their handset in. Then there would a battle would develop between the handset manufacturers and carriers. So Carrier IQ came along and says, hey, we've got this nifty software that you can put on your device, and it will collect all kinds of metrics that will help you prove your case that it was not your handset, but it's really the carrier's nasty little setup. They don't have enough antennas, don't have enough power. Well, that was all fine and good, except it collects a lot of information, as you can see on the next slide. This is from a document they have on their website today, and it shows you the different things that they capture. Now, I'm going to back up the slide for a second. You'll notice it says the IQ agent cannot typically be deleted by the end user. Okay, and so all this information can be gathered by this software, and you would have no idea that it's happening. Now, this is installed on probably 150 million handsets, that's according to their count. What happens is they can send a unpublished SMS to the device, and it can collect a number of different things. It can collect your phone number that you dialed or received, what apps you opened and closed and are active, is your device on or off, the screen touches, the URLs, FTP, HTTP, IP, TCP, DNS, your GPS, non-GPS location, your media sessions, SMS messages, and keystrokes. Now, they now dispute they can gather your keystrokes unencrypted, but there's others who say that they actually do, so they can actually capture all your passwords you type in without them being filtered in any way. All this information can be stored on the device for an extended period of time, 24 hours or more, and an encrypted package that you can't look at. Then it can be a non-visible SMS message can be sent to your device that you would never see. It would tell them to release the data packet to Carrier IQ or to their customer. That could be the mobile handset manufacturer, it could be the carrier that you're using, or it could be a third party, depending on the agreements that Carrier IQ has. And this information would then be released to them. Now, Carrier IQ maintains a significant data center, and every bit of information that they collect, they maintain forever. There is no opt-out, and you really can't go and ask them to show you everything they've collected on you, and they will not tell you who all their clients are. So this is just an example that until maybe a year or so ago, this type of stuff had been going on for several years. And even though it got in the media and was quite a big fuss about it, nothing seems to have happened. Carrier IQ still continues, so they're still getting new clients. And what we did see was that a number of their clients, a number of their potential clients have said, well, we don't gather metrics through Carrier IQ, but they gather metrics in other ways. They're just not revealing how it's done. And of course, metrics involves this entire list of things that you're seeing. I'm sorry, there's some of the things that I was saying before. I produced a PDF, so you'll be able to have a copy of this after the talk. So there's no outside verification of CIQ data security. They maintain those on their servers, and they say, oh, we've never had a data breach, but they have no outside auditing that's done. And there's no clarity on who their customers are. Is this third-party governments? Is this commercial interests? Only thing that's certain, it's not you. And though they have recently opened a portal that supposedly allows you to see what they're collecting on your phone if you choose to look, there's no clarity, no certainty that that's all they're collecting. That's what they're showing you. So it's a very difficult situation. Now, on the other side, on the carrier side, you have some tools that's been produced by Nokia and a pile of other competitors that's called the Lawful Interception Gateway. Now, this is an idea that in their mobile phone networks, lawful parties like governments and police forces can say, oh, here's somebody who's kidnapped a child, and we want to track down their phone and who they're talking to. And that's certainly a legitimate thing. The problem that we run into is in a lot of countries, lawful interception is just everything. If you're a foreigner, then you're probably being monitored all the time. And these lawful interception units make it a lot easier to do that. For example, they are built into the system. And so they have your phone number, they have your GPS coordinates, they're tied directly into the carrier. And you can see in this picture the network that's set up. This is from Nokia's own publications, where they have a real-time admin who can come in and look at the information that's coming through. They can have a place for the authorizing authority to make an approval for interception online, and they can have a place for law enforcement or other parties to make a request for information online. So all this can happen in real time. Now, a lot of people will think that with so many cell phone users that we're just lost in the haystack. There's so much information going on that you just can't track it anymore. Well, each one of these units can maintain simultaneous interception for 5,000 calls at the same time. So just a few racks of these, and you've got a pretty good capacity to do real-time monitoring of everything that's going across the cell phone network. Now, I will go into the next section on this, which talks about a piece of software, a set of software that's been sold by Siemens, and of course Nokia and Siemens work together very closely now, which is basically makes use of a number of different intelligence sources and combines them with the things that Nokia has produced. So, to give you an example, again, talking about being safe in the haystack, is here was an example task. Search for suspicious patterns in 21 million call records, looking at what happened over an hour and up to 5 different calls. And they were able to say that they could produce this out of those record sets in less than a second. So pretty much real time. What they're looking for is, in this example, this person called 2 people, and one of them called 3 other people. And so they wanted to know who called who, and what kind of cascade effect did this have? Who were the influencers? This same system is designed to link into a bunch of other information. So You'll notice on this diagram, this comes from their document. They're expecting that the ISP is going to be monitoring your email, that they're recording your conversations and to whom you're speaking to. They're looking at your web browsing, and they know where your IP address is. They're monitoring where your car is moving, and so the highway cameras are tracking your physical location. And all of this gets monitored real time. They also have a module that does mobile phone tracking. And what this does is it's watching for your GPS and non-GPS location of your phone throughout the day, and it just monitors it passively and builds it into the database. They build profiles. So they began to look and see what your normal behavior patterns are. That's the little green dots in the center. And then they set up parameters to say if you're working outside your normal geographic parameters to a minor extent, then that could be a minor deviation. But if you go on some long trip, some unexpected trip, you have unexpected visitors, you make unexpected long distance phone calls, and these can actually generate an alarm that flags your information to say it should be observed by an intelligence person. Some of the things that the system does automatically is in monitoring phone calls, it can recognize who the speakers are, what language they're speaking in, word and phrases, topics, how emotional you are, and it can automatically do transcription. In the text domain, so if it's looking at emails and text messages, look for topics, language, character recognition, and automatic translation from language to language. In the image domain, if you're sharing pictures, looking for faces in the image, other components of the image, and video recognition. Now, it's important to realize that this is not just a very narrow area. This software has been sold in over 60 countries. They're not releasing any more information about it than that, but that's about half the countries in the world have this installed and are using this to actively search through all their sources of data, including all the carrier networks, to look for what would be considered dangerous or concerning security information. Again, in some countries, we would say it's perfectly fine. You're going to use this to look for terrorism or child exploitation, things like this. But for many countries, there's no requirement and no protection by law for individuals' privacy. So if you're a business, if you're a ministry, if you're an individual engaged in any activities that are considered by anybody in a particular government to be a question, then these systems can be brought to bear to track you and to monitor what you're doing. On the handset side of things, we have the concern of sneaky apps. One study showed that there were 40 apps used by about 40 million users. And of those, 25, many of them were easily hacked to grab your credit card details. So they just had sort of they're very, very weak, and they were able to grab stuff very easily. Another study showed 25% of the most popular iPad finance apps have no privacy policy. And so if you signed up to use one of those apps, they can legally keep all your information and sell it to other people without your permission. Because with no privacy policy, you agreed to that. One Japanese hacker network built an app that was downloaded by 270,000 people. And once it was installed, it began to just siphon your phone for all the personal information it could. All your contacts, phone numbers, SMS messages, anything that it could get access to. And stole 10 million pieces of information. There is a proof of concept app that operates the camera of the phone without permissions. And so it can go through the process of taking photographs throughout the day while you're using your phone. Now, this is not an app that's on the App Store. This is just something that was done to show that it can be done. And I don't know that there is any research that's been done to prove that no apps can do this. It just shows that it can be done. Another example of the types of things that can be done was an app called Girls Around Me. And I don't know if you heard about this one last year. It gave the location and personal details of women near the app user. So if you're some guy, you could load this on your phone. And what it did is it went through information that was on Facebook and Foursquare. And if somebody didn't have privacy settings on their personal details, it would give them a chance. It would just siphon all that information in, plot it on a map real time, and you could just see where real time girls were who were around you, what their pictures were, information about them, and how far away they were. They had a lot of people download this for about a week, and then it got pulled. But at the end of the day, one of the things we know is that that same approach to mashing up different open sources of data or some commercial sources of data is very, very powerful and very simple to do. Another demonstration that was done using the thing they used, they called it All Your SSL Are Belong to Us, demonstrated that this is a published in a research journal, that many, many, many applications that use SSL are doing it improperly. And they found that even the primary libraries like OpenSSL, GNU TSL, and all these things, they were not implemented correctly in the apps, and they were subject to man-in-the-middle attacks. And it was so pervasive, they were showing that banking apps, that a number of things that we would think were supposed to be pretty highly checked out were completely open, and your details could be stolen, and a man could get in the middle of your interaction there. And so we all think very highly of SSL. It's one of the things we count on to help keep us safe a lot of times, but if it's not implemented well, it's not much help. Now, I could keep on going with the horror stories. There's almost an endless array of things to worry about. But let's just take a moment to look at some things that you can do that can make things a little bit better. A brand new service out called Silent Circle. This is from the same guys who invented PGP encryption software. Offers an encrypted distributed tunnel. So they're saying that if you use their software on your phone, you can create a text, audio, video tunnel to another caller on the same network and be able to have secure communications. That your stuff is encrypted all the way through, and there's no backdoors that are possible on their servers or anywhere in the pipe. Now, these guys have got pretty good credentials. It's a new service, so it hasn't been validated by independent security examiners yet. But because of the reputation of the people involved, it's probably worth looking into. If you have a need for secure communications, $20 a month per person might be an affordable option for you. Another option is to have a VPN on your Android phone. The VPN is built into Android, and if you use a pre-selected key rather than exchanging a certificate, that can help you have a pretty secure connection to a server. You would want to know the service provider that you're going through, and you're going to want to verify your security. So you're going to want to put a sniffer on your network and make sure that the tunnel is being made proper. And for the truly paranoid, what can you do to make your phone relatively safe? And so I'll just give you a short list. First thing you're going to have to do is you're going to root your phone. The reason I say that is that Carrier IQ shows you the carriers can put a number of different things on your phone, and your apps can all do different things on your phone that you just can't monitor. There's no way for you to know what's being done. So you have to root your phone to get control of the device. You'll want to install a firewall. There is an open source one called DroidWall, and that will give you control over all that traffic that goes on and off your phone over the IP connection. This won't do anything for your voice connection over the phone because that goes through a private network. You would install BusyBox. This is a series of low-level open source tools to give you command line control over the device. And of course, if you install any kind of apps on the device, you're going to make sure that those are trusted. The best thing to do is have as few as possible. Now, if you really want to have secure communications, you're going to remove your SIM chip from your phone because you have no control over what the carrier is going to do with your phone while you're using it. They can actually turn the microphone on your phone while you're using the internet. So if you were making a Skype call through a VPN tunnel, they can still hear your conversation by tapping into your microphone. But if you take your SIM out, then you are not connected to the telephone network. You can spoof your MAC address. So as you're connected to the internet, the MAC address for the device can be changed so that it's not showing up the same device identity every time you connect. You would change your physical internet connection location. So if you're going to hook up in a Wi-Fi cloud, you do it in different places at different times with different MAC addresses. Now, there are a couple of other things that are even more extreme because they can still get the serial number of the phone and what's supposed to be an unchangeable phone identification. And all of this gets tracked across the cell phone networks. But many of those things are taken care of when you take out your SIM chip. So if you want to be really paranoid and fairly safe, if you follow this series of steps, you're much less likely to be picked up by the Simmons Ultra tracking software. And that's it. And I'll turn my video back on and take some questions.
Unmuted.
All right, Clyde.
Hey, Ed, what does it mean to root your phone?
To root your phone, that means you're going to take control of it over from the installed operating system. So, for example, for Android, there'd be a number of packages out there on the web that you can go through, or sometimes they have instruction lists that would basically load a version of Android on your phone that's not controlled by the carrier.
Ed, a question, is there a noticeable difference between Android and iOS in terms of their default security configuration and then how extensible the security can be for either platform?
Sure. With iOS, they are the big spy on their devices. So they monitor everything. They have complete control over the platform. There was a situation about a year and a half ago where you had somebody who found an unencrypted file on an iPhone. They had rooted their phone, that's how they found it, that had all the GPS coordinates that their phone had ever been in since they bought the phone. And you could load this into a map and it would show a complete mapping of all the person's movements during the entire lifetime of the phone. Now, Apple said, oh, that was a terrible mistake. And they upgraded iOS, and now that file doesn't exist on the phone, but they still collect the data. Now, you can root iOS, and there's a number of, you can put a firewall on it, these types of things. I went with Android in my presentation today because the open source tools are more mature for Android than the ones I saw for iOS.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, Ed. This is Jay Clark. My question is removing the SIM card a good alternative to just turning the phone off and removing the battery if you don't want to be turning your phone off and taking the battery out all the time?
Yeah. If you remove the SIM card, the network doesn't have access to the device anymore. They don't have a way to identify the phone, and it wouldn't do a handshake to connect to the cell phone network. So yes, you could still use some apps on your phone, you can still use the camera and things like this, and just not be connected to the phone network.
Ed, I'd like to ask you a question. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but out of the list of things that could be done in your scenario, in your location, what of those things do you do on a regular basis?
What steps do I take to keep from being monitored?
Yes, you gave us a really pretty thorough list of things that could be done.
Well, one of the things I do is I don't use my phone for a lot, so I often leave it in a drawer at home. So if I know it sounds funny to be a tech guy and say I don't carry my phone all the time, but one of the best things you can do is just put your phone away and go do your meetings and have your work and just not carry this device with you all the time. That's a really good thing to do. Another you can do is if you have confidence, you have control of your phone, you can put it on flight mode, and that will stop it from transmitting. Although I find that even that isn't really that accurate. You're still going to want to pull the SIM. So I think pulling the SIM and leaving your phone at home are two very helpful, easy things you can do.
Ed, I've been looking at rooting my phone, and there's a lot of warnings about bricking your phone. Is there a way that we can sort of be guided through this maze and make sure that we're using good advice on when we go to do this and when we go to install a new operating system on it?
Yeah, that's difficult. You've got people who have some
Muted.
helpful guidelines on how to do that. And lots and lots of people have done it successfully. But even one of our staff was working with a donated device the other day and bricked his phone. Fortunately, bricking the phone means that you turn it into a useless pile of plastic and electronics that won't work anymore. But when they updated the next version of the rooting software, he was able to try it again and the phone was usable. So it's not necessarily permanent when these things happen sometimes. Yes, I would say that if you feel uncomfortable with it, is to seek out somebody who has done it before to go through that process, because it is a little hair-raising to void your warranty and those types of things. Sorry, that's not more detailed than that.
Unmuted.
I got a few minutes here late, but I appreciate the things you're saying. I'm trying to deal, though, with in a practical standpoint from users. My concern is that everything you've said, I've totally tracked, I can do. I typically won't do because I feel like there's levels of security that we all have to live our lives with. And, it's kind of like, if we think about our lives as castles, it's like we can either live our lives with the castle walls up, the moat filled, alligators in place, and boiling oil on the mantles around the castle, or we can live with the thing down and participating in life. And so I guess the practical standpoint, I guess like I said, some of the things you said, many of the technologists in the room here have no problems with. There's some people here in the room who are technologists and are going, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so, as Keith was trying to say, what are the things that you practically do? I'm trying to wonder, what are things that, I can practically tell a user to say, you should do this or you shouldn't do that. For some things, like, for example, pulling your SIM card, well, I think half the people in this room are on Verizon. So that's a mute point because there is no SIM card for them to pull. Or they're on Sprint, they can't do such a thing.
Right. The same thing with iPhones.
Yeah. So, I guess...
you can take it out, but it's hard.
I'm sorry?
Well, let me address your question. Okay. What do we do about the massive people
Muted.
ministries or friends and relatives we deal with who operate in a completely unsecure fashion? Okay. And how do we manage that? I think all I was trying to get across in the first part of my presentation is that the idea that we have security through obscurity is a myth. And as organizations, we have to face that. Now, if we've got users who aren't sophisticated, then we need to make sure that we understand that we are fooling ourselves and we're putting people we work with at risk if we continue to use our mobile devices the way we have. We can say, oh, well, it's not causing a problem right now. All of our national colleagues, they text stuff in the open, and everything's working fine. That day is over. If you watch what's happened in the Arab Spring countries, a lot of things was coordinated through SMS and Facebook and things like this, but governments also went after people who did those things. They knew exactly who was texting, what they were doing. So I would say that it's really important that we educate our communities about what the reality is. Simple things they can do, like I said, is leave their phone at home if they have anything secure to do. The other one is if they've got a device they cannot disable in any way. I didn't put this in the presentation. There are sacks that you can get, little bags that have silver mesh on the inside of them that block all radio transmissions. And you can carry this little soft cloth bag with you, drop your phone in it, and it's a Faraday cage that goes around your phone. And it cannot communicate any radio signals at all. So that's a portable device you can carry around with you if you really want your phone not to be communicating stuff to people. It does run your battery down because the phone's constantly trying to connect to the cell tower while it can't see a signal. But even turning your phone off, if you don't have it inside one of those devices that can protect it from radiation, there are examples of phones you have the microphones on, cameras on, GPS on, even though the phone looks like it's off. I'm sorry, I'm seeing on the text we have a question here in the chat.
Yes, Ed, thank you. The question I have is about
Is this what somebody was just asking me? Sorry, I'm not hearing anything.
Okay, sorry, Ed. My question is about the SD cards.
Okay, so with opportunities for ministry in closed countries, what are security issues that can be reasonably done? That sounds similar to what the question was just asked. I think especially in closed countries. Mobile ministry, ministry issues in closed countries, what can be done? Some things that you really can do fairly securely in secure contexts are SD card sharing. So content on SD cards going from phone to phone. Bluetooth sharing. Matter of fact, just one of the groups we're working with in a Central Asian country, we gave them instruction how to do Bluetooth sharing of videos, and they've had a video that had gone viral. That's gone into villages around the area that they were working in. And it's something that can't be tracked or traced, and has gone very dramatic for them and really emboldened the local Christians to engage in sharing gospel materials with friends in the area. So SD cards and Bluetooth sharing are two things that are still quite good that you can do. We're working on some new tools that we hope in the next year might be helpful in some cases. But those are the two best ones I know in really secure contexts. Okay, got a question in the room.
Unmuted.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, that's a good segue because my question has to do with the SD cards. Is there a way to be able to encrypt the SD card so that password is needed to be able to see what's on that card, or in case the card falls into the wrong hands?
Yeah, I've done some research on what you can do with it.
Muted.
And there's a number of different things. Some of it was designed to protect digital rights management. I think probably your easiest approach in that case, if you're looking at usability issues, would be having a custom app done that somebody put in a code or a password or whatever that would access the stuff that was on the SD chip, and you could put encrypted stuff on the chip, and only the app would unencrypt it. That would make it very easy for the end user, to be able to do that. if you try to give instructions on how to open and close those files, a lot of people, it just gets too hard. Also gives you a plausible deniability. If using the same app, it has some other feature. Say you got a simple little game of some kind. But if you press the button the second time, you get to put in your passcode and it opens up the stuff that's on the SD card. That would be an approach I would think that could be pretty secure.